In the town of Greendale, where it always feels like Halloween, there lived a girl who was half witch, half mortal, who, on her 16th birthday, would have to choose between two worlds, the witch world of her family and the human world of her friends. My name is Sabrina Spellman, and that girl is me.
Ladies, gentlemen, Stalis, that weird crow, welcome to a very special bonus episode of Sabrina's Witch Trials. Folks, it is the spookiest time of the year, and no, I'm not talking about family holidays, because fuck, I don't want to see my family this year. Kidding, there's some family I do want to see, but you know, there's that weird uncle which you don't want to see. Or aunt, or cousin, or grandpa, or weird crow. I'm Al-HEX Ara-BOO-jo, or seeing as it is Halloween, I'm Al-HEX Ara-BOO-jo. Right? I worked on that before. Top of the list right here. Funny ghost names. I'm Al-HEX. And of course this is Sabrina's Witch Trials, but it's a very special bonus episode because today we're not talking about an episode of a 20-year-old teen sitcom. No, we're here to talk about the first season, or most of it in one of our cases, of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Netflix's brand new show based on the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina comic book from Archie Comics from 2014. It's still, I don't know if it's still running, but it's been around for a while. So we're going to talk about that first season here. We're going to talk about the characters, the performances, what we didn't expect to happen that did happen, what we did expect to happen that didn't happen, and most importantly, all the fun familiars that we get to see throughout the season. And along on this ride with me is someone who has quite the haunted nose today, so if she blows it, you'll know what that sound is. Anticrist-ina Ara-BOO-jo is here. Chris,
yeah,
how are you?
I was thinking of one. I was like, oh, well, I'm going to need one. So it was either Antichrist.
Yes.
Yeah. You say Christ. Come on now.
I have to, Antichrist is nothing.
Antichrist.
What does that mean?
It sounds like Antichrist.
No, Antichrist-ina sounds like Antichrist.
Yeah, but anyway.
You're here. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm fine.
Good to hear.
My backup was hiss.
The scariest of all the snake sounds.
Yeah.
As opposed to...
Or cat sounds.
I guess that's true. Piss. Terrifying.
Super spooky.
What's more terrifying on a local train than a bunch of piss?
Oh my god. Why does that keep happening?
Because people...
Between long stops, they like always go in between cars. Like they think like people aren't going to know that they're... peeing like in between cars. I'm like, come on, dude. You put your drink down.
And then pissed in the
and or madam.
Mug.
2 ladies and 1 gentleman I have seen do this. Anyway, sorry.
2 ladies pee on a subway?
Not like I haven't physically seen them pee, but they like my stop at work is the first stop in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that the stop before that stop, that trip between stops is really, it's longer than most stops.
Mm-hmm.
And so people tend to go like in between the train cars and will literally stand there and pee in between the train cars. Perfect. While the train is like barreling through the tunnel going to the next stop.
In many ways, the train of urine is barreling through their...
I'm sorry for this story.
No.
It's New York stories for you guys.
I, too, have a urine-related story. No, I don't. I was pissing myself with excitement when the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina arrived on October 26th, folks.
3 hours later than you expected.
Precisely. When they said 12 midnight, they meant 12 midnight West Coast time, which meant Al had to stay up until 3 in the morning just to watch the first episode, and then he watched the second because the first episode is really half of a pilot.
Even though it felt like 2 episodes.
Yes. It's a long first episode, too.
But it feels long.
It is. It's like a solid hour.
Yeah.
And also, that one is just like, well, we'll get into it, but that first episode, which I believe it's like October Country, I think it's called.
Yeah.
That one is just like where 85 to 95% of what we saw in the trailers is from. So it's just like this bit of a trailer, then that bit of a trailer, then this bit. Then Sabrina rings a bell and Salem arrives at some point. All the fun things we'd expect. That was most of what we saw in the trailers. But this season does go in some interesting directions. Some stuff that I didn't think would go a certain way went that way, and some stuff that I expected to see we just never saw. Chris, what did you feel? You've only seen the first 8 episodes.
Right.
I'm
on episode 9 now.
As of today. I watched the first season in like 2 days, and then I today rewatched the pilot, or the October country, the first episode. What did you think of what you've seen so far, broadly? I mean,
I've enjoyed it. When I was trying to like look back on the individual episodes, I was a little like, I don't want this to sound like I don't like it, but I was like a little underwhelmed as to what's happened. Like watching it, I didn't feel that way. Like I thought, especially when you binge it and you just watch through, it's pretty entertaining. It held my attention. I thought the acting was great.
At points, I would say there is a pretty wide gap in terms of acting quality.
There's only like some minor characters that I feel like their acting isn't great. And at the same time, it's like, do I really hear that much from you to feel like you're acting?
But you're a big fan of Dorcas.
Oh yeah, skillful actress.
Honestly, if her name was anything else, I wouldn't remember. Like, watch, what's the name of the other weird sister that isn't Prudence Chris?
Agatha.
Very good. I had to look that one up.
No, I remember.
But yes, thank God for Dorcas, as my T-shirt says. I actually agree with you on one point. I do think it is, while it is a good show, I do think it is somewhat underwhelming, possibly because I personally have built this up for a while because it's a Sabrina series. But I do think that...
Also, I recently watched The Haunting of Hill House, which I feel like was so good.
I do think that at points this feels like as cheesy a show as the 1997 sitcom in some ways. Like, some of the writing in moments feels very like corny in a fun way, but like totally taking away from the whole, oh, it's going to be so much darker than the other Sabrina. Like, at points there's a lot of like corny shit in this season.
I don't know.
I feel like, especially in the first like 5 episodes, most everything that Father Blackwood says is like done with such a...
I think like, there's a campiness to it.
Yes, such a campy, maniacal quality to it that it's hard not to laugh.
But I think similarly, there's a campiness to Zelda.
Yes.
Like, there's an overt, like, evilness or like this extra play on it that is, in effect, kind of campy.
Maybe that's where we should start in terms of talking about the characters. Okay. You have told me off mic that you aren't the biggest fan of this interpretation of Zelda.
It's not, okay. So, it's not that I don't like her. It's just that I'm not used to Zelda being so mean. I'm used to like the like loving, supportive, like, yes, like not strict, but like morally, like a Zelda with like a strong sense of like what's right and what's wrong. I'm used to that, but she's always been like,
and like reliable, I would say also.
Yeah. She's always been reliable, like the knowledgeable one,
she's
not
Sabrina,
necessarily
she's
the serious
Star,
one.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, like, the straight man, essentially.
Yes.
But she was always loving and supportive at the same time, whereas, like, this Zelda feels like would literally burn Sabrina alive. Like, I don't feel that same level of love because there are moments when she, like... so I'm just thinking of, like, I don't know how spoilery we want to be.
I'm going to say this right now. If you haven't watched the season, don't listen to this because don't listen any further. Go watch the season, come back and listen to us 3 times. That's just my little plug there. Because I'm not going to be able to not spoil stuff, and I'm going to try because Chris has only seen the first 8 episodes.
I've only seen the first 8.
But we're going to talk about what we've seen in the season so far.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, in episode 8, she is talking to Father Blackwell. It's Blackwell, right? Blackwood. She's talking to Father Blackwood and...
Snackwell.
Father
Snackwell. His cookies are evil.
He's a Snackwell.
They taste devilish. You were saying.
Devil's food.
Yes.
He's a little devil's food cake, huh?
Yeah. I'm going to stop right there. Keep going.
No, I'm not attracted to him anyway.
No.
She says something to him essentially like about how her house is filled with like a half mortal and like someone who
was excommunicated.
Someone who's excommunicated, someone who is essentially like stuck in the house, like housebound. And like, why is she being punished in this way? Or like, what's, She
says this to him.
Yeah.
Yes.
She says it to him. And I'm like, wow, like what a fucked up view of your niece. Like, and also the fact that she supported, her brother signing away Sabrina.
Right.
When she was 3 days old. I'm like, you literally have no sense of like
familial
family.
Duty. Yeah. Well, you have to remember that. Here's the thing. Here's what I'll say about the character of Zelda. I don't love this character. I really enjoy this character.
Yeah.
More so beyond just the fact that I like Miranda Otto's performance, because I tend to like uppity, uptight women.
Al loves the bitch.
Yes.
He loves a good bitch.
And she's a real Emily Gilmore. She's a real Kitty from Dharma and Greg.
Yeah. Montgomery.
Whatever, Kitty Montgomery. Whatever the mom's name in Arrested Development, she's a real one of those. Very much stuck in her traditions and her expectations. I will also
Louise.
say, huh?
Louise?
Maybe Lucille Bluth. I'll say that a lot of what you brought up about, I thought the line of her saying that Sabrina's a half witch or whatever it was, or a half mortal, I thought that seemed kind of odd, just because by that point she'd already like expressed so much love for Sabrina.
But at the very beginning, like even from the very beginning, she's so disapproving of like the way in which Sabrina wants to live her life in terms of like having that mortal side of her and involving herself with mortals.
Right. I think that is fair though, because I think that is a somewhat hyperbolic depiction of like having to deal with a parent's expectations of you as opposed to what you want out of your life. I think that speaks to truth, especially to a teenager. And I think the important thing that happens with the Zelda character is there is growth throughout the season. You were very clear that you didn't like the scene, I think it's in the first episode, might be in the second, where, as we saw in the trailer, Zelda kills Hilda and then buries her.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I didn't like that either. I think it's not that funny.
Especially like what brings it about.
Seemingly she just does it whenever she's mad at Hilda.
Yeah, essentially.
Right. Which, I mean, illustrates possibly a failing with Zelda. Pretty clearly a failing with Zelda. But the important thing that happens in the season is Zelda comes to realize that is wrong. She, in that dream episode, I think it's episode 5, whatever it's called. It is called Chapter 5, Dreams in a Witch House. That is very bland. She has a nightmare in which she realizes that she's killed Hilda, and in this nightmare she can't bring her back, and she comes to realize that is the wrong way to deal with her sister. And even later in the season, she again comes to realize how much Hilda means to her. I mean, part of the reason she is that uptight in this season is because that gives her room for growth.
Sabrina, I was always so cruel to her. Now she's gone.
Who's gone?
I killed her. And now she's never coming back.
And Zelda, you're in a nightmare. None of this is real. Hilda is alive and sleeping next to you, I promise. But I don't have much time and I need your help. There's a sleep demon in our house. She's the one who put you in this nightmare, and I need you to tell me how to defeat her.
My only sister. And I treated her like hell rot.
Then the thing is, like, if you talk about, she grows, okay. Then in was in episode 8, she then again talks about her sister like she's like this detriment to the family. Then also is incredibly disapproving of Hilda wanting to work and do something for herself. So like, I don't know that she, like, I know you say, oh, well, she realized, how much she loves her sister. She realized it in that moment when she had the dream, but I don't feel like she changed any.
It's a fair point. I look at this depiction of Zelda rather somewhat like, and you'll get this, but if anyone out there has seen Riverdale, I look at her a lot like I look at Betty's mom.
Oh, no. Betty's mom's way better.
No, but in the way that, like...
I love Betty's mom.
Betty's mom is a fun character, but she'll be a bitch for most of the time, but then she'll learn a lesson and she'll seem nice, but then, like, another episode goes on and she's a bitch again.
But the thing is, she's ride or fucking die for her kid.
Yes.
Which Zelda's not about that.
Or a kid she thinks is her kid and then turns out not to be her kid, and then she's just killed the guy.
More spoilers. If you thought Sabrina was the only thing we were spoiling here...
No, fuck. I told you already. Guess what? Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. There you go. I said it.
That's not to say that I don't think the acting is good, because I do think
it's a great depiction.
In terms of acting, yeah. And I think it's just a different character than what I had imagined. Mm-hmm. That's not to say that it's not an interesting character in its own respect.
Now, comparatively, Hilda, I know you're a big fan of.
I love Hilda.
Yeah. Lucy Davis. I think she's doing a great job also.
Yeah. Which is also, it's not the same as
Teenage Witch.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
No. I think in some ways, like, Lucy Davis's Hilda feels a lot more like the Zelda from Teenage Witch, like Beth Broderick. She's a mix. She's the more parenty parent.
She is the more parenty one. She's the more loving, more...
nurturing.
Yeah, definitely. But I think she still has that quirkiness, which makes her more Hilda.
It does feel a lot like Lucy Davis's Etta Candy from Wonder Woman also. Like, not quite so like poppy and bubbly, but there is that like constant, like just perpetual happiness to her, even when mean, cruel things are being said or happening to her.
Aunt Hilda.
Ooh, morning.
That's gorgeous.
It's your mum's wedding dress. Oh, they lived such a fairy tale, those two. Thought you might wear it tonight. It's your baptism.
Aren't witches only allowed to wear black to their baptism?
Oh, that hasn't been the rule for years, decades. You know, you have nothing to be afraid of, my darling. I mean, your Aunt Zelda and I are going to be there. We make sure nothing bad happens to you. And then, you'll see. Tomorrow, you're going to wake up and, well, you're going to wonder what all the fuss was about in the first place. Do you believe me? My sweet, brave girl. I love you.
I love her.
But there is also a strength in there that I think Lucy Davis does a good job of, like, depicting.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, she's the one to get them out of that dream issue, so.
Yeah. Yep. And we get to see Balky's weird, stomach brother.
Don't. That face will haunt me.
It's weird. What stuck with me is, like, is he going to have that later on in the series for real, or is that just a weird dream thing?
So I think it's interesting, like, the way you think of Hilda and Zelda as a pair, you always kind of think of them as opposites. Like in Sabrina the Teenage Witch, you think of Zelda as like the bookish one, and the, straight-laced one, whereas Hilda is definitely like the goofy off the wall, like, let's go roller skating in the bathroom.
Well,
I don't know.
Said.
I couldn't think.
We all remember that great episode.
Think of anything. But like, she's like the fun, crazy one.
Sure.
So in this, they still have that polar opposite relationship where Zelda is very like
cold.
almost like evangelical in
Yeah.
her like beliefs, and her
her strictness is undone by Hilda's warmth and conciliatory quality.
Her, I don't know, her, it's not so much that she's like, she coddles you.
Yes.
Like she has a very like cuddly personality, which is very much in opposition to Zelda's like, I will set you on fire if you don't behave in the way in which I believe you should.
Definitely. I do think they play well off each other also. I think like it is pretty believable that they are sisters, you know?
I don't know about that.
I think
it's rough though, because I've never had a sister, so.
You know.
And like,
I
love my sister-in-law to pieces, but also I would never treat her like that. So I also don't understand it.
Love her to pieces.
Like I don't have that kind of relationship with her where I'd like you hate love each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just love her. Like,
you're just gonna cut this one clip out and send it to her, aren't you? Christ.
yes.
Yeah, you are. It's worth. We might as well talk about the other Spellman family members really quickly here. Before we actually get to Sabrina, let's talk about Ambrose. I thought it's a good depiction by, I forget what I think it's Chance Pomodoro or something.
It's Chance something.
I think he's playing the role well. Chance Perdomo. I just don't think he has a lot. Huh?
Chance Tomato.
a big zesty Chance. I don't think his character gets a lot.
Spicy with a chance of meatballs.
Spicy with that's very good. Spicy with a chance of Pomodoro.
Yeah.
I don't think he gets a lot to do. Like he does have that witch boyfriend.
He had that whole like astral projection.
Yeah. I think his storyline throughout the season is actually kind of interesting, where you do he does actually carry this over pretty well, where he does sell the fact that like he has had to live in this house for 75 years and like he has nothing. He's like, all he gets to do is like open bodies and that's it. It's like he has no life at all.
Jerk off in the basement.
And yes. And then he gets interrupted by
Poor guy.
fucking Sabrina letting out weird old ladies.
Seriously.
Come on.
I think
give him 5 minutes.
Personally,
okay?
I think I was pretty right in saying that he kind of replaced the Salem character.
Yes, he definitely does.
In terms of the structure, he's like that sounding board, and that like he's actually a lot more straight-laced than a Salem would be.
He doesn't crack nearly as many jokes as you would expect from like a Sabrina Teenage Witch.
Yeah,
Salem.
no, he cracks some, but it's like I think
just snide remarks more than anything else.
In later episodes, I guess you can kind of tell, which I think is like character development, not necessarily like character growth, but character development in that like he's getting more and more frustrated with the situation. Yeah. Especially after the dream episode, that he is less bubbly and like fun loving, and he's much more like, Sabrina, what the fuck are you doing? And you're like messing with shit you shouldn't be touching.
Especially in the episode when Sabrina does try to, when she tries to resurrect Harvey's brother, he just like tells her to fuck off basically about all the shit she's doing and having killed a witch.
Harvey was broken, Ambrose. I had to do something.
Yes, you've mucked about with the most potent, wicked forces that exist. Much more powerful than the Dark Lord. I'm talking about death, cousin.
I followed the ritual to the letter.
Then what are you and your friends doing in our cane pit?
The rite demanded that someone be killed so that Tommy would come back. Agatha was that someone. But the ritual didn't mention anything about the murdered sacrifice having to stay dead.
Why must you always insist that the universe grant you special privileges? You've upset the natural order. You do realize that, don't you? That there are rules. There is no cheating fate.
What's the point of being a witch if I can't help the ones I love?
You've crossed a line this time. No. You've completely erased it.
There's no reason to think that the spell will fail.
Yeah, like I said, I think he's a good character. I'd like to see more from him. Kiernan Shipka, who I was looking really strongly forward to as Sabrina. I thought she was going to be fantastic, and I think I can say for the most part that she is.
She is. She's really good.
She's charming. She knows how to. It is fun just to watch her facials because she has very good face acting for someone her age. It's ridiculous how young she is, considering how good an actress she is. I think most of the poignant scenes she's in, even in the first episode, which I was just rewatching, like, she is killing, and especially when she's acting against some of the other teen actors, like, they are just not on her level.
Get on my level.
I mean, I was watching, there's the scene in the first episode when her and Harvey are in the woods, and she is trying to explain to Harvey why she can't hang out with him on her birthday.
Right, yeah.
And part of that is, like, I think this Harvey is written to be just as dumb, if not a little bit dumber.
No, he's not dumber
than Nate Richards' Harvey. Chris, in that scene, she's like, she says something that's like, it's like a quinceañera or a bat mitzvah,
yeah,
where I'm stepping out of my girlhood or something.
Yeah.
And he thinks it's a metaphor. Like, he thinks they're just going to fuck in the woods. That's what the implication there is. He's a dumb Harvey.
The ceremony's called a dark baptism, but it's not as bad as it sounds. It's kind of like when we went to Shoshana Feldman's bat mitzvah or Guadalupe Lopez's quinceañera. I'm leaving my girlhood behind.
In the woods. Is that a metaphor?
I like the guy. I'm not a huge fan of Ross Lynch's performance as Harvey, but he's a really dumb Harvey.
I think he's good because, like, I almost feel like you have a lot more of, like, actual interaction between Harvey and Sabrina as a couple than you ever get in Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Because in Sabrina the Teenage Witch, like, yes, they're around each other, but there's always a friend around, and there's always, like, weird hijinks where she's like, gotta go, and runs off, and, like, then it's like, oh, I don't know, Sabrina's just, you know.
I mean, just by the fact that is a sitcom, like,
Yeah.
that has to be like that.
Yeah.
And this is also, each episode is an hour. But I do agree with you where the one good thing about them on screen together is they do feel like a teenage
Yeah.
couple.
They
like,
have really good chemistry.
They,
Good smooches all around.
very nice kisses. They do feel like they are dating, and they do feel like they are that classic, like, teenager obsessed with each other. They've been dating for 3 months kind of dating.
Let's say you're a kid, a normal kid with a normal life, and one day you wander into a cave, and this wizard who lives in the cave says he'll grant you all these superpowers.
What powers? Like, can I fly?
Eventually, yes, but the wizard, he says that in exchange for these powers, you have to give up everything else in your life. Your school, your friends, your girlfriend. What would you do?
Are you my girlfriend in this scenario?
Yes.
Then no. I wouldn't take it.
Really? You'd give up flying?
There's no flying in my life. Without you, Sabrina Spellman.
I would like to see more from him, but, like, this season, I would say Ross Lynch is one of the weakest actors. I feel like most of the...
I don't feel like there's all that much that he...
He's in episode 9, which you haven't seen yet.
Okay, yeah.
That is, like, the episode where you would argue he is acting the most, or
Right.
he has
did
the
a
most to
lot
act to.
in episode 8, but I almost feel like it was so...
Like when he pushes his dad into a casket?
It feels a little bit all over the place. Like, he's like... I mean, I get it. Like, his brother is possibly dead. But he's, like, super moody and then, like, weird. Like, even the episode before when they go hunting, it's kind of like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Like I said, I think he can be better. I didn't really like him in this season.
I
go ahead.
I didn't get to talk about Sabrina.
Right, absolutely.
So I feel like the acting I think is great. I just feel like similarly to the way I feel about like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, where you almost look back on it and you're like, wow, Sabrina's kind of like, not that she's boring, she's kind of annoying sometimes. It's not that Sabrina in this is annoying. It's that, like, I feel like specifically when I get to, like, episode 8, maybe I just really didn't like episode 8. When I get to episode 8, I'm like, it's not that she's necessarily doing really questionable shit and then justifying it, because then you kind of have the fake out where, like, she wasn't going to kill her at all,
Right.
whatever. But you do get to this point where you're like, I don't know about Sabrina. Like,
I think that much like Sabrina,
it's like Harry Potter, where you're like, all the characters you really love are not Harry Potter, and you're like, why is everyone always fucking talking about Harry Potter, except for the fact that he's chosen one? But besides that, like who gives a shit? It's Harry Potter. Calm down. He's the boringest character. He never solves anything. It's always Hermione.
Well said. Bit of a rant there, Chris, but well said.
But, like, yeah. Valid points.
I think that a lot like Teenage Witch Sabrina, 90s Sabrina, she is pretty self-centered at times. Not that that's a bad thing, but, like, there is definitely that vein in this character.
I think it's kind of much like Harry Potter. And much like Sabrina, well, not necessarily Sabrina from the 90s Sabrina, it is perpetuated by other characters, essentially treating her as if she's almost this chosen one.
Right.
You got, like, every fucking person at that school. I mean, even the whole Weird Sisters thing. Like, it's not that they make her seem like she's super special, but I think that, like, jealousy and that competitiveness makes her think, and then people, like, saying, hey, they're just jealous of you because you're awesome. Fucking Nicholas Scratch.
I like how, I think this might be in the first episode, but Sabrina just, like, blatantly calls out, like, the whole academy is just full of racists.
Yeah.
It's just nothing but racist. Why are you sending me there?
True. Because
Fair question.
her aunt loves to perpetuate that shit.
Yeah. What did you think of the Weird Sisters, just as a quick side? Because I thought they were pretty formulaic. Like, nothing really special about them.
Yeah. No.
They love their orgies, but
I
who
almost
doesn't?
find it funny that they sing so well.
Yeah.
Which they do. They have beautiful singing voices.
They are chomping. If there's one thing I know about Greg Berlanti,
everyone has to sing.
he loves his fucking musical episodes. Wait for if there's not a
Even
musical
Roz at the funeral.
Yeah.
So good.
he loves his fucking musical episodes. There's probably going to be one in season 2. He made
I feel like
Supergirl
every
do
time he
one.
looks for an actor, he's like, but can you sing though?
I mean, look, he worked on Glee for a while, so he definitely likes shows where people sing. But yes, like I said, I think they're pretty formulaic.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the actress who plays Prudence, is it Jazz Gabrielle or is that someone else? No, sorry, Jazz Sinclair plays Rosalind Walker. Prudence is played by Tati Gabrielle. I mixed their names.
She's good.
I think she is a good actress. I really liked her in the Feast of Feasts episode. I think that's actually a really good episode overall.
That was a good episode.
But yeah, the other two, like,
that was some crazy fucking shit.
I thought it was really interesting. I think that is a great episode for illustrating how Zelda actually does really care about her family and really cares about Sabrina. Just that scene where she's going up the steps and she says she wouldn't have let that happen to Sabrina. And when Sabrina points out that, like, but that's witch tradition, she's just like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I think there you see the conflict between her traditional...
But she let Sabrina take over the thing because she didn't want to get into a game of chicken with her.
She did, but like she says at the end, she wouldn't have let them eat her. So, points for Zelda.
I don't know about that.
I think she wouldn't have let her
I feel like she would have allowed... See, this is the difference, right? Sabrina is incredibly opposed to it. Had Sabrina been like, oh no, this is what I'm doing. This is my sacrifice for which kind or whatever bullshit.
Sacrifice. So if she was all...
if she was into it...
Who sang My Sacrifice? Creed.
Creed.
Yeah. So if she was all Creedy about it... Perfect.
You're going to play some Creed?
Absolutely not. Not a chance in hell. Hell, that's where the devil lives. Chris, so we agree on the Weird Sisters here. I thought, just one last thing on Kieran and Chipka's Sabrina. This writing really smacks of, like, Riverdale writing to me, where, like, sometimes the teenage characters are far too verbose. Like, she's using far too many, like, overly eloquent prose and like terms that no teenager
Her
would
Latin
use.
is really good.
Well, yes, but that makes sense for being a witch. But like she uses words like mongrel and like destitute, and it's like no teen talks like this. Like this is somebody who's having too much fun writing for teens.
It might also like that we didn't touch on like the whole. This is the 1960s, but isn't the 1960s.
This is modern day.
Yeah, it's modern day, but it's not any modern day that's actually modern day.
No, it's modern day if no one had ever built a new house since the Depression.
It's modern day if you lived in Berlanti land.
Yes, Berlantiville. It's modern day.
Berlantia.
It's modern day if house paint doesn't exist.
Let's be honest. Berlantia wins it.
Sure. God, can you imagine that national anthem? It's 4.5 hours long.
Everyone is singing. all of the actors.
It's also worth noting just a couple of things we learned from this season. They're in the same universe as Riverdale. That's confirmed. And in fact, there's actually a crossover because a character who actually recently died in an episode of Riverdale appears on this seemingly after that. It's a very small character. But you know the
wait, have I seen it yet? Because I don't think I've seen it yet.
You have the pizza delivery boy who brings Madam Satan her pizza.
Oh, yeah.
He's from Riverdale. He's something
he?
Button. It's like Barry Button, I think his character's name is. The character's name is the great Ben Button.
Is he? And he dies? Was
He's
he one of the guys killed?
He dies in Riverdale in the beginning of like
Black
season
Hood?
3. The season that just started.
Oh, now you're just spoiling all the cross
He's
shows.
a meaningless character.
But
Chris.
I didn't see his death. Now I know someone's gonna die.
Someone's gonna die.
Wow. Yeah. That dude.
It's Riverdale.
Yeah,
Someone
I watch
dies
Riverdale.
every 3 episodes.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
No.
Not
now.
Chris, this news story is more important, okay? Because they are in the same universe, so seemingly we could see a more important crossover down the line.
Fucking Archie.
And theoretically, that would probably come with a. You would think it would be a CW
Jingle Jangle
character. Oh my god, there's a scene.
Hits the mean streets of Greendale.
This is totally irrelevant, but there's a scene I saw on Instagram of an upcoming episode that's like totally meaningless.
Of what, Riverdale?
Of Riverdale, where like Veronica gets like a delivery. I think the hunky
pizza?
No, I think the hunky Asian guy from the high school is like bringing in a box or something, and they open it. It's just like big bags of Jingle Jangle, and they're like shocked. And it's like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Okay, I cannot allow this to go on anymore. Fucking Jingle Jangle is just, one, a stupid name.
I fucking love that shit.
And 2, someone's just having a big laugh every time they get to write Jingle Jangle in a script.
I'm sorry, but like, I love when you try and make something super dangerous have like this innocuous name where you're just like, thank you. Like when like a drug dealing murderer is like Mr. Smiley. Fucking love that shit.
Chris, you promised you wouldn't bring up Mr. Smiley anymore.
The
nightmares.
What about Salem? We need to address him.
Look, we can address him about as much as this show does. He exists. Next.
I feel like in certain episodes they made a real attempt to work in Salem.
Right.
And I like him. Like, I'm like, oh, it's so sweet. He's the protector.
It's nice to see that he's there.
Yeah.
But like half of the time you see Salem, it's just like an establishing shot,
I'm sorry,
and Salem's in the garden.
He does not talk.
He does not talk. It's actually worth noting that Roberto Sacasa, I think his name is, the creator of the show. If I'm messing up his name, I apologize. I just have too many names on the brain. Roberto Sacasa. He said that he was also the one who created the Chilling Adventures comic book. Mm-hmm. And he said that initially in the comic, Salem wasn't supposed to talk either. But in creating it, he realized that it's pictures, so you don't have to see a cat's mouth moving.
Right.
But when he adapted the show, he said that he didn't want to have a talking cat.
But he meows and it's so cute.
It's also worth saying, he said that just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it won't happen.
Right.
And
like if you hear, because Sabrina understands him.
He does. And it's also worth saying it's the smallest of spoilers for episode 10. It's utterly meaningless, but at the end of episode 10, Madam Satan's familiar Stolas Stalis, whatever, is able to talk. Like, we hear his voice.
Oh.
So it's not unbelievable that we would hear Salem's voice at some point also.
I think the whole goblin thing is an interesting take.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I thought it was a really cool visual of
the deer?
The deer goblin one, yeah.
That was sad.
I mean, hey, hunting isn't great. I did love the scene in the first
hunting
episode.
Isn't great.
I don't support hunting, especially when it's unnecessary if you're not going to eat the animal.
And that animal isn't destroying your land.
And that animal isn't a goblin. I did really enjoy the scene in the first episode when Zelda's like, "Oh, you've got to pick your familiar. Oh, here's a very nice hedgehog. Oh, look at this."
What was with her dog? Was it stuffed?
Her dog is her familiar.
I understand, but her dog looked dead.
I think it was just lying in a bed. I think its name is Vinegar Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that name?
I don't know. We literally never see it again.
I guess they're not too familiar. But we see the fucking spiders all the time.
Hilda's
see?
Spider familiars.
Whose familiar is more useful, huh? Talking about your spiders.
Whose would you rather pet?
I don't know. Vinegar Tom does not seem
my
like
hand.
a friendly.
Salem.
All day Salem.
He's a cute guy.
Also, it freaks me out a little bit that there's a goblin inside all of them. So
yeah,
probably none.
I mean, what are you gonna do?
You
gotta put your goblins somewhere. I thought it was also interesting.
Like a little Dobby. If I give him a sock, will he?
Hashtag Dobby sock. We haven't talked about Madam Satan, but I think she's probably my favorite character, or at least my favorite performance. I think it's just evident watching like 3 minutes of Michelle Gomez's performance that she's having a fucking hell of a time, because it's hard to not enjoy like just everything that she does that's like constantly somewhat snidey and connivey, but no one else seems to recognize it. Although if you were in a room with this person, it'd be the most obvious thing in the world.
So sorry to disturb you, Mrs. Meeks, but Sabrina Spellman wasn't in homeroom this morning, and I wondered if you'd heard from her.
I did. Well, from her aunt. Hilda... Zelda? One of them called to say that Sabrina's feeling under the weather and will be staying home today.
Oh. And on her birthday. Oh, dear. Can't be helped, I suppose. Have a good day, Mrs. Meeks. Happy Halloween.
How is it that no one else realizes that she's not a witch? That they're just like, she says she's not a witch, she's a demon.
But she does magic.
But she...
You mean, why does no one else...
That she's not just a witch. Like, none of the witches realize she's lying about being a witch.
Well, she has the story that she was excommunicated from a different coven.
But, like, check up on that bitch. Like...
Yeah, go to Google Coven, idiots.
I'm sorry. You'll go to such depths to do other things, but you're not gonna fucking check up on someone who says that, like, your brother told her to protect your niece?
Did you think it was interesting?
I'm sorry, I'm like getting shouty.
Utterly fair. Your levels are fine, so just don't
shouty
go any
caps.
louder. Hashtag shouty caps.
Stop with that hashtag, weirdo.
Hashtag weirdo.
We're having a conversation. You don't have to hashtag things in the conversation.
Promote, Chris. You always gotta be promoting.
This isn't searchable audio. I don't know how you think people are gonna...
on Instagram.
Such a
what was I gonna say? I thought it was kind of weird that you don't really get any backstory into the Madam Satan character. Like, you don't know. We talked about it before in the comics. Like, there is a defined backstory about how she arrives in Greendale.
Queen of the Demons.
Yes, but here she just like walks out of like the brush and then gets in the car with Miss Wardwell.
What's his face? Dark Lord commanded that she come to watch over Sabrina.
Yes, but that is said, but
like, I wanted more. I want to know what her purpose was.
Are you doing like the gay hairdresser guy from Queer Eye?
No,
because it sounds like what you're doing.
No,
and I'm a little offended.
Jonathan Van Ness.
Yes, great name. What a name,
no.
Jonathan Van Ness. Also, I felt the need to say the gay hairdresser guy as opposed to the straight hairdresser guy on Queer Eye. Just didn't make a lot of sense. As I was saying, I would just like more of an explanation about like how she got there, but maybe we'll get it in the future. I thought you don't know this either, but like in episode 10.
Oh, don't I?
You don't.
Don't spoil anything
I'm not spoiling anything. In episode 10, that's when you like get that backstory of like why she's actually in Greendale.
To corrupt Sabrina.
Well,
there's obviously a list of things that she needs to do because she told Uncle Jesse that Sabrina, I know, Sabrina needed to perform an exorcism because it was the Dark Lord's,
right?
Like,
but they explain. She goes into explaining why the Dark Lord wants Sabrina, basically,
because something to do with that vision of the baby with the like
hooves.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe Sabrina has a brother. Or
well,
a sister.
that was my original thought, is that there were 2 babies born, and that the Dark Lord has one of the babies.
Or maybe that baby died, and now Sabrina.
Or maybe
has to replace
Sabrina
that baby.
is both of the babies because she technically belongs to the Dark Lord because he signed her away to the Dark Lord.
All possible. Yeah, but I do really.
Or he wants her for a bride, which is what I initially assumed.
That's what it is. Or is it?
He wants to put a baby in that Brina.
Yes, a goat in the oven.
Also, I fucking hate the nickname Brina.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. I just
can we talk about that for a second? Not only that, which is really irritating because it just seems awkward. That's the word.
Why would you?
That's the wrong half to make into a nickname.
It just feels
weird. This show goes to such extents to always say Harvey Kinkle. Like the full name, Harvey
Kinkle. It's a
Kinkle.
good name, okay? Harvey von Kunkel.
Look, I appreciate the change, but the thing is, I kind of grew to hate the name Harvey Kinkle just because they were saying it so much. Especially Miss Wardwell. She says it every time she talks about Harvey. It's always Harvey Kinkle. Like,
I don't mind.
She knows which Harvey you're talking about
because they do it all the time in Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, as well.
They don't say Harvey Kinkle.
They say Harvey Kinkle a lot.
I don't think so. I'll look in the next episode, but I don't think so. Also,
I mean, Sabrina doesn't call him Harvey Kinkle. She calls him Harvey all the time. But they say Harvey Kinkle a lot.
Or that Kinkle boy.
That Mr. Kinks.
That kinky boy.
Kinky boots over there.
Yes.
I was going to say...
Do you have anything to add on Miss Wardwell or Madam Satan?
No, she's great.
Yes.
You
want to talk about Roz or
yeah,
Susie
I wanted to talk about Roz.
Yes.
I think it's great that they made her have a power. I find the curse very interesting.
The cunning.
I'm just waiting for Sabrina to be like, I can remove this curse, so you're not going to turn blind.
It's possible, but maybe she might want to go blind because then that way she keeps the cunning.
But it's possible that she'll still have her cunning. It's just that the blindness brought it out. Do you remember? That's what her grandmother said.
One of my favorite side characters was her grandma.
Why?
I really enjoyed Roz's grandma.
Why'd you enjoy her?
I just thought she was a fun character, and like she was very nurturing and a good performance. I thought by the woman playing her grandma. But yes, I actually thought
really confused as to what's going on with Susie and her like ancestor.
We'll talk about that. Okay, here's the thing. So each of
I think I might have. Okay, so here's the other thing, though.
No, here's the thing.
I feel like part of it developed in episode 8 when I wasn't as into it, and so I kind of might have missed something.
If you missed it, I did too.
Okay.
Here's the thing. So both of Sabrina's friends, Roz and Susie, have their own little story going on. I feel like neither of those stories are that interesting or like grabbed my interest that much. Like, yeah, Roz gets a power and she's going blind. And yeah, Susie... I thought the interesting bit of Susie's story was the bullying aspect that was in the first couple of episodes. That kind of, like, disappears for the most part. So she's left with this, like, she can see visions of her ancestor.
Well, originally it was like she's struggling a lot with her identity.
Yes.
And feeling like she needs to dress a certain way so that she doesn't feel that shame.
I think part of it was that, and part of it was also like the death of her uncle, kind of leading her to want to just like not just to like make things normal for her father for a little while.
I don't know if it was necessarily for her father. I think it's because of the way her uncle was perceived. She didn't want to end up like him.
Right. I also thought it was interesting, just as a quick side note, that Sabrina, and I think pretty much everyone, refers to her as she and her.
Until
the grandma calls her a boy.
It's not grandmother, right? It's
Roz's grandma.
Oh.
When Susie goes with her, Roz's grandma calls her a boy.
No, I was going to say her ancestor says, you're a brave boy. At the beginning, I think it's the very beginning of episode 9, which I just started.
But that actually does happen.
And she almost takes a pause where she's like,
maybe.
And I'm like, wait, did I miss something? I'm very confused. Yeah. But
it's interesting just to see that she uses those terms for herself. That's fine. Right. It's good to know from now on, because I don't have to struggle with that. Having to... Because I'm an idiot, folks. You might know this, but I would sometimes revert to she and her accidentally. So...
But
I would actually, honestly,
Susie is most commonly, like, her friends all say she.
Yes, they do.
She refers to herself as a she.
Yeah. But she is gender non-binary.
Right. Which is why when we were talking about the characters beforehand, we used they.
Yes. It's an interesting note. Like I said, as far as Susie goes, this whole, like, I can see my ancestor thing, I don't know where that's going. I'm not really interested in where that's going either.
So, at first I didn't really think too much about it. Like, I was like, oh, well, another weird shit is happening. It's fine. But now I'm kind of feeling like, where's this coming from? Mm-hmm. Is it the Dark Lord trying to take advantage of, or is this part of
Madam Satan's
her plan to kind of like mess with the friends? I
figured that's what it is.
Because why does she suddenly have like a ghost talking to her out of nowhere?
Yeah. Also,
because you can kind of understand the whole Roz thing, because there's that backstory of like family history that makes sense.
The episode where they perform an exorcism on Roz's uncle.
Right.
Fuck whoever directed that episode and all of their jump scares. Okay? That's too many. You don't put that many jump scares in anything. You don't put that many jump scares in a 2-hour movie, much less like a 55-minute episode of television. Fuck you. Okay? Also, as long as we're on the production side, your fucking intro is cheap as shit. Improve it. Okay?
They're not going to.
They're not, because one, Netflix wouldn't care to spend more money on it.
They just use the same intro.
And most of the time, it skips automatically anyway.
Right.
But your intro music is just like Spooky Sounds Track 7.
Generic.
And your...
So angry.
It really pissed me off, because...
He was like, I want Happy Birthday Sweet 16 by Neil Sedaka,
no,
or nothing.
Like you do know how much I appreciate a good theme song, though. And this is just nothing.
Yeah, but it wasn't going to be a 90s, like...
It didn't have to be a 90s thing. It didn't have to be a 70s thing. Look, people like the Stranger Things theme song a lot. I didn't, but people did.
I don't even remember what it sounds like.
It's like... Yeah. You got it, didn't you?
I did.
But this is nothing. And then the video that goes along with it is literally like what I did for my videos, where it's like a clip of like an image from a comic book, and then you just pan along it. Yeah. I could have done this, and that's an insult to you guys.
Someone was in a hurry to get this shit made.
Christ. Also, one other thing in terms of production, the like music that's used throughout the season. I told you this before, but I think it all fits the scene that it's going on, but it fits it too well, and it's like too lazily picked.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, so in this scene, Roz is going to be a bad girl. So we need songs about someone being a bad girl. Okay, this one has bad
Halloween,
girl in the lyrics.
So let's play Monster Mash.
Yeah, that one. Christ. Sabrina just kissed Harvey, and he said that he loved her. So let's play Be My Baby by the Ronettes. Jesus Christ. What was the other? There was one more I literally wrote down here. Oh, Bad Moon Rising. Miss Wardwell picks up.
That's some cheap shit.
It's just like the first thing you think of.
Yeah.
Put more effort into your show.
Yeah, like Black Betty. Fucking Black Betty would have been awesome.
Like that's used too much. Also,
I don't care. Black Betty's amazing. Also, Notes for Riverdale. You should play Black Betty when Bad Betty comes out.
That's true. Also, more Bad
Black Betty had a child.
More Bad Betty in general. Another note for Riverdale.
Which, I don't know, I saw some preview where Black Betty was Black Betty.
was being played, and Chris was super excited.
Where Bad Betty was, like, dead on the floor, and, like, regular Betty, like, found her and was like, oh, that's interesting, and walked away.
Interesting.
Not actually listening.
I heard you. She saw Betty on the floor, and I'll have to spoil that for someone in a few days.
It wasn't a commercial.
Exactly. So was the thing I said.
Lies.
Probably.
It was literally just a teaser commercial where she like looked at her. It was like not an actual thing.
I think one last thing we should talk about before we wrap up is the actual uses of magic, like how magic is portrayed in this season.
Not nearly enough pineapple.
Honestly, you didn't turn anyone into a goat, which would work.
Oh, I was like, blatant pancake eating? The Spellmans can't have pancakes.
Oh, I can't wait for that one where she gets addicted. Still better than Jingle Jangle.
No.
I think it's actually a fun mix of like really hardcore actual magic and then some stuff where it's like, oh, I'm using this magic apple to look into the future.
She's much better with incantations than Sabrina.
She is.
There's not nearly enough hijinks with her spells going awry.
She's not a quizmaster to be seen.
No. Who would be the quizmaster on the show?
Who would play the quizmaster, you mean?
Yeah, like how would they change the quizmaster on the show?
I feel
he couldn't be like the regular quizmaster. So like, what would he be like just super high all the time? Like, is that his
I feel like
eccentricity? It would just be like he's just always fucking high.
If the character of Ambrose didn't exist, like that character,
on some witch drug.
Yeah.
What would the witch drug be called?
Spingle Spangle. I feel like Brew number 2, something like that.
No.
Something Brew.
No.
Brew without a W. BRU.
No, it would have to be some like super like arcane word. Like it'd have to be something like that sounds
like the first half of apothecary, like apothec. Hit me with some of that apothec.
No, it's got to be a full word. You can't abbreviate this. These witches they're not about the newfangled things.
What's the opposite of angel dust? Devil dust. Oh, because that's not what the show does for most things.
It needs to be like a fucking Latin word or like, I don't know.
In omnia paratus. The one bit of Latin I learned from that episode of Gilmore Girls.
Like Elixium or something. It's got to be some stupid shit.
That's way worse than brew without the W.
It's just BRU.
Yeah.
Brew.
Also, brew without the W would be brie. BRE.
No, I know, but I'm saying.
But yes. Bre. Hit me with some of that bre.
That bre. What were you saying before I interrupted?
What the fuck do I know?
A bunch of good hypotheticals.
Oh, right. No, the magic. Yeah, I do like, I think it's a fun mix where like, there are just some like fun little magical elements that Sabrina interacts with for an episode.
There's a lot more voodoo dolls than I expected.
There's a lot of voodoo dolls. That weird like puzzle box that she gets from from Father Blackwood. The apple, like I said, that weird little bell, which we found out what that's used for. Some of that stuff feels like season 1 Charmed to me, or like even like first couple of seasons of Buffy, but that's not a bad thing necessarily in a show like this. But yes. So, Chris, to wrap up here, we're not going to do Back of the Golden Closet because all the outfits are great.
I don't know. There's some things that Sabrina wears where I'm like,
a lot of sweaters. That wedding dress looks great on her, though.
Yes, it does. That's why she wore it multiple times.
She does wear it a couple of times. Also, I'm a big fan of Father Blackwood's outfit, like with the big fringe and the walking stick. I think it's fun for his character.
I'm trying to think of outfits.
Oh, that green dress that Michelle Gomez wears when she's walking through her dreams, where it's like very tit based. It's like very well cut. I'll show you after. I picked it up on my phone.
What's your Prudence's outfit for Feast of Feast?
That is a great dress.
Damn.
Too. Yep.
Get it, girl.
But yeah, so instead of talking about clothes, which we just did, I want your favorite episode, and if you have one, your least favorite episode.
I don't know. I'm starting to think that episode 8's got to be my least favorite because I keep bringing up how much I didn't like it.
Good.
Yeah, there was something kind of off. Like it was kind of a slow episode. Mm-hmm. I feel like maybe because of the way it started with the accident and then things were kind of left up in the air, and then the way that they like unraveled was kind of weird.
It's not the heaviest like magic episode either. It's just like a lot of Kinkle storylines. Yeah. I think there's a good scene. There's some good scenes in that. The funeral scene I think is really nice, in part because you have like Zelda standing up for Harvey.
Right.
I thought that was a good scene. It's not a great episode. I really didn't like the Witch Academy episode 4.
It was. It felt like something else. Like they pulled it from something else.
It feels
the whole like children
bullying aspect.
Yeah,
thing.
like
also,
straight from like
that's where you see Zelda realize that she's cruel to Hilda because she bullied her as a child. What was the term that they used? Shunned. It's not shunned, but it should have been
something
shunned.
with the C. The harrowing.
Yes, that's what it is. The harrowing. Very good. Anyway, yes.
So not a word with a C.
Not at all. But you do
the cravening, the cullening,
the Edward Cullening. That's where you do see again Zelda's actual affection for Hilda and her realization that she's been a real jackass. And I think that's the one good thing about that otherwise pretty shit episode, because like all the stuff at Academy of Unseen Arts is just kind of dull, and like that whole subplot about like the ghost kids. Yeah. I thought it was cute with Hilda and the ghost kids, but besides that, it was just like too many ghost kids.
And then I mean the visuals with the like hanging, floating girls were good, but
I thought in terms of good episodes though. One that I thought was going to be shit as I was watching it, and by the end I was like, that was a good episode. Episode 3, The Trial of Sabrina Spellman. I really kind of enjoyed that one.
You just like the lawyer.
I did love the lawyer. I love legal stuff, but I did love like all the twists and turns within it, because then you find out that she was baptized by her mom, and that's a good out. And then I thought it was well written. I thought it was fun. I thought it kept your attention the whole time, and that whole plot with the lawyer was very good too.
I liked the Feast of Feasts more than I expected to.
Yep.
I also kind of feel like I liked. I don't know if it was an episode. Which episode did she go to the orchard to get the apple?
I think that's 1. It might be 2, but I think that's 1.
Really? It feels like it was later. Maybe because the first episode felt interminable.
It is very long. It's like an hour and a bit.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed the Feast of Feasts. I also really enjoyed the Dream episode.
Mm-hmm. That is another like fun kind of like capsule episode where it doesn't really have a lot to do with what's going on outside of in the storylines.
Yeah.
But it is just like, it's
a very obvious episode. Like it's very straightforward. Like,
and it's something that I feel like a Buffy or a Charmed would do.
Oh, without a doubt. Which I feel like it's very much inspired by some of those episodes.
And in some ways, it seems like it was too early in the series to do a show like that. Just because, like, you're not so interested in what these people's dreams are yet.
I think it's in the same sense it's good because you get a better sense of who the characters are and what their like motivation really is. I think we should talk about Nicholas Scratch.
Ugh, do we have to?
Well, because we were wrong. There's no way that this kid is capable of being the Dark Lord. He's like super lame. Like, no offense, he's super lame.
He might be playing that long game, Chris.
He's like so sad.
He really wants Sabrina.
He does, but
he was offering to share Sabrina.
But he's like really not impressive.
Yeah, but you know, there is a scene where like he meets up with Sabrina right in front of the statue of Budapest or whatever the character's name is, the Lord's name is.
Blasphemous.
Truly doesn't matter. The big goat guy.
Yeah.
And like she walks away, and then he lingers for a second, and then he looks up at the statue. Like that seemed to be illustrating something untoward. But I can tell you more or less nothing happens with his character in the season. Like, aside from the fact that he's in an orgy and he wants to fuck Sabrina, that's pretty much it.
But he seems like a puppy about it too.
Yes, he is.
Where he's like, you could literally lead him around by his dick.
He's
like
playing the long game, by which I mean his dick. Yes. Wow. I did have one or two like throwaway things that I noticed. Edwina Diana is a terrible baptism name. Edwina is
Sabrina
a terrible name.
Edwina.
Yeah. Diana Spellman. Hideous name. And the Spellmans are...
What else could she name? Edwardia?
It could have literally been anything. You don't have to celebrate both your parents so lazily.
She wanted
like that.
to. They're both dead.
Fine. Eddie with no E, just an I.
So Edie?
Edie. Ooh, that's even better. Edie Diana.
But that's not her
It doesn't roll off the tongue well. Edie Diana.
Yeah, but also Edwina has a very like
Magical.
old school
Herbal
Agatha Dorcas vibe.
Yeah, remember when everyone's grandma was named Dorcas a couple years ago?
It's actually a name.
I'm
It's
sure
so
it is.
sad. I feel so bad for anyone who lived back in the day and was named Dorcas.
Yeah. Also, that they probably died of like typhoid or whatever.
Black Plague.
That too. Also, the Spellmans are evidently cannibals, or were part of them have been cannibals very recently.
Apparently, all fucking witches be cannibals because they be enjoying that feast of feasts like it's going out of style.
I figured they were going to do something with cannibalism, in part because, like, oh, this ain't your mom, Sabrina. We got to work in some of the darker stuff.
Oh, you like flan? We like human sacrifice.
That's right. But it is clear that, like, Zelda will eat a person because at one point
she's fucking hungry.
At one point she's like, "Oh, we haven't had." I think she uses the term like "long pig" or something.
Oh, long
hog.
No, was it long hog? Was it long hoof? Like
No.
long. I just remember seeing the foot.
Yeah.
And being like long. Maybe it was long hog. I was like, that is the fucking weirdest way to put it.
It sounds like you're gonna eat his dick. That's what it sounds like. And Nick Scratcher stuck his head in the door, so he's ready for whatever. Yeah, so I feel like that will probably be like pulled back now since the Feast of Feasts episode, but they do it sometimes. You know, they do it if they're hungry. I think that's all I had. Do you have any like weird things you want to touch on, Chris, or do you want to just get out of here?
I wanted more truths to be revealed with Hilda's truth cake.
That is true.
And that is the most Sabrina, the teenage witch moment.
That is a very good point. That is purely,
right? That's like straight up.
That's just truth sprinkles. That's all it is.
Which is way better.
Yes.
Like, let's be honest.
Absolutely. Because you got chocolate bun cake.
I love the, oh my God, how do I put this?
Show?
No, I love how like store-bought things can be in Sabrina the Teenage Witch, where there's
how lazily it's
Mando,
yeah.
Like all these things are very there's
mass
like
produced.
Which is almost like insane to think about because all of this is like out in the open. Like there's just this world where witches can create these things and have them out like with the same sense of ease that a mortal can. Buy like a box of pancake mix. They can, buy something magical, or not buy because they don't need to spend money.
Steal.
I mean, I don't know what kind of
currency they use.
Yeah, I don't know.
The coin of the realm is what was once mentioned on an episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
What is that?
Like, fuck do I know? It's what one of the door-to-door closet salesmen said.
It's just lies.
Yes.
Lies. Which obviously in this is not the same. Everything is much more like homemade. So
it is.
I wonder what truth cake tastes like.
Bitter.
What flavor do you think?
Bitter, Chris.
I don't know. She ate that shit down like.
Yeah.
It was going out of style.
I also did love that scene in part because Father Blackwood's wife is just like, "Oh, you're a fucking philanderer, and we all know you, son of a bitch."
Best. I don't know why I said that.
It's fantastic.
It's so okay. I mean, I don't know if it's worth noting because it's so fucking obvious how hot for Blackwood Zelda is from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Like the very, very, very beginning.
Much. Like the first time they're alone in the room, you're like, they're gonna fuck. Just because like those characters make sense. It makes sense that those two characters would be having an affair.
Yeah.
Yeah. That said, all in all, Chris, if you had to rate this first season on the TGIF scale, where does it fall for you?
I don't know. That's hard because I haven't finished.
What you've seen of it so far. For me, I'll tell you, it's like a high Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Maybe it's probably, it's probably closer to a low Family Matters. I think it's very good.
So like a low 4.
Yeah, like a low 4.
I think I would agree. Because I think it's enjoyable. I think I like it. The acting's good. Despite this discussion in which we are constantly comparing it to Sabrina the Teenage Witch, I'm not watching it and comparing it to Sabrina the Teenage Witch like, oh, this doesn't live up to what Sabrina did.
What is that voice you're doing?
I don't know, but I hope it's enjoyable. So,
Trust me, I'm looking forward to like 2 hours in the future when I'm editing this, and it's not. It's a good point that you make, though. When I watch it, I was actually like considering this more in comparison to like Riverdale. And I don't think this is actually as good as season 2 of Riverdale. But to be fair, that's season 2.
Fucking good, though. True.
So they did have to do a lot of establishment in this
Except
season.
Veronica. I fucking hate Veronica.
I think season 1 of Riverdale was probably better than this also. Not that this is bad again.
I think this is good. I think they do a good job of building characters, but at the same time, I feel like I don't know them as well as I want to, or as well as I need to truly love them. I don't have that, oh my God, I live for this character feeling yet.
That'll come in time. You probably just need more episodes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like Hilda, though.
I feel like now, as it progresses, I'm kind of losing that feeling for Sabrina.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, at the beginning...
She felt more innocent?
No, she felt like more of a bad bitch, honestly. Like, she was standing up for herself, and she was, like, very much about, like, this is who I am, and these are my people, and I'm not just gonna, like, take what you want to give me, and I'm not gonna, like, sacrifice myself for this bullshit.
Wait until you get to episode 10,
But then, like, it was kind of, well, I'll sacrifice my morals because I love Harvey, or, I will murder someone because, I don't know, her trying to get around the system.
Yeah. It gets annoying at some point.
It almost makes her feel more like Sabrina from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, where she's, like, always trying to, like, to play the system.
These rules don't apply to me.
And it's like, Sabrina, like, this is all your own fucking fault for being an idiot. Yeah. Like, for trying to, play with the system. Like, that's not how it works.
Mm-hmm. Fair point. I would say, watch it if you haven't watched it. And if you've gotten this far and you haven't watched it, you already know most of what's going to happen. At least the first 8 episodes. To this. Go straight to episode 9. You can watch it with Chris.
No, we left a lot of stuff out.
We definitely did. There's a lot of little things. We didn't talk at all about the corn maze and the weird.
That's another thing we were wrong about.
What's that?
We had thought maybe
it was at Susie's house.
That was at Susie's house.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, that's where she gets the apple.
Just random corn maze because she had to go on a hunt for an apple.
Mm-hmm. Luckily, it wasn't that far away.
Also, like, I mean, come on though. That the sign that said fucking old tree this way, and it's like, of course I have to go through a corn maze. Of course, there's a fucking sign pointing to the old trees.
Yes, Chris.
We keep the old trees sequestered because, we don't want the new trees to catch old tree.
Oh, don't catch any old tree. That's a good advice for you. That's a good advice.
That's a good advice.
That's what me and Chance Pomodoro are going to hang out.
Spicy chance of meatballs.
Good heavens. We've gone too long. I think that's where we're going to wrap it up there. Good series for me. Not a great series, but check it out. You might like it, you might love it, you might hate it. Let us know what you think about it, though, on Twitter at Sabrina Podcast, on Instagram at Sabrina's Witch Trials, and on Facebook, facebook.com/Sabrina's Witch Trials. And follow us in all those places. Listen to us everywhere you can, and you can listen to us pretty much everywhere. iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play Podcast app, your podcast app of choice. YouTube, search us on YouTube. There's a lot of videos up there. Check those out. Like those. Subscribe to that. Follow Chris over at chrisconkers.com and on Instagram and Twitter at chrisconkers. Tell her what you think of Chance Pomodoro and if you would buy his savory meat sauce.
If he's a juicy tomato.
Tell her if you think Nick Scratch is an utter failure like you think, like she apparently does. Nope, don't defend yourself. You're out of here.
He's too cute to be that dumb.
What?
Or maybe that's why he's that dumb, really.
Yeah, I was going to say, usually stupidity and cuteness go like hand in hand. At least that's what they tell me.
You dumb slut.
Right on the money. Anyway, until next time, I want to thank you all for listening to this special bonus episode and say we will see you. Well, we'll have a happy Halloween, folks. And if you're listening to this after, I hope...
Have a happy Halloween.
That's right.
Holly jolly jolly.
Holly jolly Halloween, something like that. You just check Sabrina's Witch Trials Instagram. It's definitely up there for Halloween. Have a happy and safe Halloween. Send us photos of your costumes if you're doing a Sabrina or Chilling Sabrina costume also. And most importantly, we will see you in the other realm.